Interesting stories we're getting to today. A judge just ruled that New York City law requires a Jewish university to recognize an LGBT student group. What was his justification for that decision? And what will happen on appeal? We'll talk to the lawyer representing the school today in the program. Also, the National Abortion Fund, has started telling women who get chemical abortion drugs only to take the drugs in states where abortion is legal. What are they concerned about? We'll talk to a lawyer who's made it his job to sue the abortion industry and done so quite successfully. Also, we know the COVID pandemic has killed millions of people. But how many people were killed by the COVID lockdowns? Dr. Jay Bhattacharya will stop by for that conversation at the end as we continue to be a bit reflective about our response to the COVID pandemic. But first, our headlines. Today marks the 1-year anniversary of the final U.S. troop withdrawal from Afghanistan. President Biden spoke this afternoon in Pennsylvania, but ignored the anniversary in his speech, which primarily focused on policing and gun rights. The president also plans to deliver a primetime address on Thursday. Joining me now to discuss all of it and other news today is Congressman Warren Davidson. He is a U.S. Army veteran and a member of the Republican Study Committee and the House Freedom Caucus. He represents Ohio's 8th Congressional District. Congressman Davidson, welcome to Washington Watch.
Always an honor. Thanks for having me on today.
We're glad to have you. Now, I know you are a veteran. It is a somber anniversary that we as a country are celebrating. Just what are your reflections as you think about the withdrawal from Afghanistan a year ago? We've had time to think about how that went, what we've learned. What are your thoughts?
It's a tough anniversary. I remember this time last year just being exasperated as we were trying to help Americans who were being left behind by our own government. I mean, frankly, we had I had about 40 U.S. citizen passports, images of their passports. They were on manifests. They were outside of Kabul in another part of the country. And our own State Department had blocked their departure and told them to work with the Taliban. I just couldn't believe what was going on. And so when you mark the anniversary and you think where we were last year, Kevin McCarthy had brought about 40 veterans from the Republican conference in to try to push the Biden administration over that weekend to make it an event-driven timeline instead of a date-driven timeline. So the event should be, you don't need to have worn the uniform, served anywhere to know that the logic is first you pull the civilians out and then you pull the military out. And unfortunately, the Biden administration did just the opposite. And, frankly, we lost a lot of people that didn't need to be lost, including Afghans who risked their lives and the lives of their families to help us.
Congressman, when we think back to the Vietnam era and the Vietnam War, that had a strong psychological impact on the country that has taken a long time to recover from and probably not fully recovered from, certainly for individuals who are involved. Are there parallels to draw from this with this situation?
Yeah, I think, look, both long wars, Afghanistan, we were there. People were deploying to Afghanistan who weren't even alive on 9/11 on the same authorization. So I hope we learn from that. Don't repeat the same mistake. We should go with a clear mission in mind. And great nations don't fight endless wars. That doesn't mean we don't fight wars. It was an incredibly just war, but we should have won a decisive victory swiftly and then moved on. That doesn't mean we need to leave the country. But we need to create some sort of stability there. And I hope that we fight our future wars more intelligently. And you look in the war on terror, the way we confronted ISIS has been much smarter than the way we fought in Afghanistan or Iraq.
Congressman David, I want to get to some of the political wars that are being fought here in the country. And of course, we are heading into these midterms. President Biden was in Pennsylvania today, trying to rally the troops, it seemed, on some core issues of his. I want to compare and contrast some things that he's been saying lately and get your response to this. Here's how he ended today's speech. Let's go ahead and play clip 8.
There's a lot of Republicans I've worked with for all the years in the Senate. I got a lot done. We respected each other. When we disagreed on principle. We then went and had lunch together. Not a joke. What in God's name has happened to that in the United States of America?
Congressman Davidson, I think most people look at that and say, that's right. We wish that people could get along despite their political differences. But now, in contrast to those statements from President Biden, here's a montage we put together from last Thursday. This is all the same speech in Maryland. Let's play clip one.
Trump and the extreme MAGA Republicans have made their choice to go backwards, full of anger, violence, hate, and division. And the whole notion of the burn it all down politics of MAGA Republicans continues to be a drumbeat. Well, the alternative to the Democrats are the MAGA Republicans. If the MAGA Republicans win control of the Congress, it won't matter where you live. Women won't have the right to choose anywhere. Anywhere. We must be stronger, more determined, and more committed to saving America than the MAGA Republicans are destroying America.
So, Congressman Davidson, help us out with this. Does he want to have lunch with Republicans, or does he believe that they're trying to destroy America?
Yeah, the way he campaigned in his limited appearances from his basement, he sounded like he was going to be trying to heal the divisions in the country and unite. I was there when he was inaugurated, and his inaugural address was all about that and finding ways to work together. But if you look at what he's done, he's been one of the most divisive people to hold office. And when you look at, what is his definition of a MAGA Republican? I think it's a Republican. Don't forget how he treated Mitt Romney. When Mitt Romney was running against him and Barack Obama in 2012, he was the unacceptable, extreme right, radical Republican. Mitt Romney is one of the most moderate Republicans to hold elected office anywhere. And they define Mitt Romney the same way. So I think MAGA Republicans just Republican to Joe Biden.
Yeah, that seems to be the case. I think it's clear that they've focus grouped that phrase and determined that that is helpful to them. And so they want to make everyone they disagree with look like a MAGA Republican. But Congressman, how do you think we get to a place where it's not as divisive? Is that even possible anymore?
Look, I think the good news is, not all Democrats, not even all the Democrats in Congress believe some of these radical things, but the people that are leading the party, Joe Biden, Susan Rice, Valerie Jarrett, Barack Obama, this cast of characters from the previous Obama administration, they're steering the party in a far left direction, the direction that AOC and her self-described democratic socialists have pushed them. Now, they're not going there as fast as the far left wants them to go, not as fast as Bernie wants them to go. They're going as fast as they can drag the Democratic Party way off of what people traditionally described as Democrats. And you see that like this week, if you look at, Democratic candidates in states like Ohio, they don't want Joe Biden to come campaign for him. Ask Tim Ryan to do a joint appearance with Nancy Pelosi and Joe Biden. He'll vote with them, but he doesn't want to be seen with them now that he's a Senate candidate.
Well, it is. I know that there are different reactions. We also saw Charlie Crist down in Florida express his enthusiasm to have President Biden come down and campaign with him. And I wouldn't think he's playing that well in Florida, but we certainly are getting different reactions from the various Democratic candidates. Switching gears to the border a bit. Yesterday, White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre had this exchange with Peter Doocy from Fox News about the inconsistent ways the country is handling COVID within the border compared to the way they're handling COVID at the border. Let's play clip 2.
Somebody unvaccinated comes over on a plane. You say that's not okay. Somebody walks into Texas or Arizona unvaccinated. They're allowed to stay. Why?
But that's not how it works. Like we actually no.
I know that that's not what you guys want to happen, but that is what is happening.
But that's not. It's not like somebody walks over and that's not how.
Exactly what's happening. Thousands of people are walking in a day. Some of them turn themselves over. Some of them are caught. Tens of thousands a week are not. That is what is happening.
Congressman Davidson, is Peter Doocy correct there about what is happening?
He's factually accurate. I wonder how she became press secretary if she doesn't realize that we actually have a land border with Mexico, and people are, in fact, walking across the border, around 4 million since the Biden administration took office. So, and it is insane, for an American citizen to come back into the country. They just now dropped the vaccine test requirement, the COVID test requirement. and for a non-citizen to come in, can't even do it through the legal ports of entry. But they've never really seemed to care at all about the folks that they're bringing over, literally by the busload. And then you see people like Eric Adams in New York City get upset when, Greg Abbott delivers one busload of people, but Joe Biden's delivered thousands.
What's the justification, Congressman Davidson, if there is one, for not having any kind of vaccine requirement, even testing requirements at the border, yet the Pentagon continues its efforts to move people out of the military who have not been vaccinated?
Yeah, I mean, I think that they view it as an ideological Rorschach test, so that, if you don't get a vaccine and you work for the federal government, you must be, right-leaning in your sympathies. And so this is a chance to purge the military, a chance to purge the federal workforce. And I really think that it's really that sinister in terms of how and why the Biden administration is doing that. We know it's not to keep people safe. I mean, these young, fit, healthy Coast Guard folks, they're not at risk by the virus. I mean, statistically, they have greater risk from the vaccine. That's not true of every age group or every demographic, but certainly the young, fit, healthy people that are serving on active duty in our military, that's been the reality. We wish that wasn't the case with the vaccines. That's how they've turned out.
Congressman Davidson, in about 30 seconds, we saw some violence in Iraq break out last night. Are you monitoring that situation?
Yeah, I haven't had a formal briefing on it. Probably just seen public source information like everyone else. We certainly hope that there stays a stable government in Iraq, and we see a period of peace endure there. But we want to make sure ISIS doesn't exploit that, and we'll remain vigilant.
Yeah, another part of the region. We talked there about Afghanistan and how much trouble is happening there. But we see this bubbling up in Iraq as well. Congressman Warren Davidson, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you.